105.1 TMC, maayong adlaw sa kanatong tanan. Welcome to Top of the Morning. I'm your host. My name is Jiggy Juice. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you'll be watching this. But right now, if you're watching this live, maayong bungkag sa kanatong tanan. I'm your host. Like I said, my name is Jiggy Juice. Right beside me, we have Ralph Chavez. Maayong adlaw ni mo di, Ralph.
Maayong adlaw, Jiggy.
Musta naman ka di, abay?
Okay ra?
Murag hinay lagi imong tingog ba? Is that your distance from the microphone, or is that your vibe? Maybe it's your vibe.
No. Okay.
Napahinayan ni mo yung microphone. Anyway, maayong adlaw sa kanatong tanan. Atong hisgutan karong buntaga is actually very ambitious, but let's just temper our ambitions with what we know about this very kaning profound and very complicated topic. Why are we in constant conflict? Akong feeling rough ba murag sige ram gyud kaning naagay kagubot ba sa kalibutan ba?
Yeah.
Labi na karong mga panahon na, di ba nga daghang kayog mga gubat nga nagsunod-sunod lang, di ba? Naay gubat sa Ukraine versus Russia, naay gubat sa kaning Middle East.
Yeah.
And I think there are other wars nga have kaning escaped our radar, di ba? Kaya pa may uban sigurong conflict siguro sa ubang lugar sa kalibutan, di ba? I think in Africa there's still some conflict happening there, and so on and so forth. So naagi conflict all the time ba? In your lifetime, Ralph, in my lifetime at least, wadyo ko nakahinumdum nga walay panahon nga wala bitay kagubot
Or something like that.
or something like that, right? Naagi na conflict ba? Kung wa man gali kaning kagubot sa kaning in terms of in the realm of kaning actual war or gubat, actual nga kagubot, fighting, na kagubot sa basketball. Ana, di ba? Lakers versus Celtics, di ba?
Oh, bisag ginagmay ra kayo ng butang.
Dako kayo nang gubot sa, dako sa kayo nang gubuta, di ba? Di ba?
Mas mudako pa dyan natungod sa mga fans.
Kung dili man gali na kaning gubat sa drogas. Naagi kagubot ba? So I'd like to see ba. We'd like to investigate, both of us, Ralph and myself. We'd like to investigate ngano man ni unsa may rason ngano nga sige man tagkagubot. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to access the wisdom of the ages, diba? The wisdom of the different points of view, the different religions and points of view, political points of view, and religious
philosophies.
Different philosophies, right? And of course, let's start with our own. Ano magita kaning padong na magita og Holy Week, diba? The entire Christian world ba na ba or Catholic ra ng kaning Holy Week?
I think it's largely celebrated sa Christian community, although there are those Christian sectors, primarily I believe the Protestants, kay we don't necessarily adhere to it, but I know that the Roman Orthodox Christians, they do. And then there's the Catholics. There's like three main sects, which is the Protestants, the Catholics, and the Orthodox Christians. And I think the Orthodox and the Christians both practice ang Semana Santa or Holy Week.
So the Christian world, by and large, is celebrating Holy Week, right?
Yeah.
So ang atong tan-awon karon through the lens of three of the major religions of the world. Maybe we'll probably add a fourth point of view, which is probably the secular point of view also of conflict, diba? Pero let's start with the root of conflict let's start with Christianity. Maybe we can go to Islam, and also maybe we can go to maybe even Buddhism, right? And Mark, daghang salamat sa inyong pagtanaw. Maraming salamat sa inyong pagpanood o pakinig, right? Makinig or pakinig.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
Anyway.
Thank you for listening, Edmark. Ang atong hisgutan karong buntaga, we're going to talk about Edmark. We're going to talk about the roots of conflict and why we're always in constant conflict. Ang kaning root of conflict, as far as the Christian doctrine is that Christianity teaches that humanity has originated for harmony with God, each other, and nature. However, according to the book of Genesis, the first act of disobedience, katubitong gikaon ni Adam
Ug ni Eve.
ug ni Eve ang kaning mansanas.
Oo.
Mapriso ka.
Mo to gitawag nila og the first act of
Yeah.
disobedience or the fall.
The fall of man.
Introduced a fractured nature into the human experience. This is often described as internal disorder, a struggle within the human heart where selfish desires often override moral reasoning, according to James 4. Also, separation from God. The loss of divine alignment leads to a lack of spiritual peace, which
Mm-hmm.
manifests outwardly as social and physical strife. And broken relationships. Conflict is seen as the natural byproduct of pride, greed, and the pursuit of power over others. What are your thoughts on those things, Ralph? And our listeners, if you have any thoughts about that, maybe you can also share it with us. Make a comment on our social media platforms, especially on Facebook and on YouTube. Go ahead, Ralph. What do you think of those things that I just talked about?
What was that last bit about pride, greed?
Conflict is seen as a natural byproduct of pride, greed, and the pursuit of power. The pursuit of power over others.
Oh well, definitely. I think even outside of the Christian belief, kay, most people would still view conflict primarily as based on people's pride, greed, and the pursuit of practicing power over others. I think that's actually fairly universal in a belief. And when it comes to the Christian what do you call this? The Christian belief again, when it comes to our sinful nature as human beings, it all started with the fall of man, with the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve disobeying God, and although and eating from the tree of
Tree of knowledge.
tree of knowledge, tree of wisdom. And it's really funny because it's always depicted as an apple, no? And almost every single painting, every single
Anong apple
media
man?
about it.
Ngandi man durian ba?
I generally don't know ng apple ang ilang pagdepict ng fruit, pero
Would it have mattered if it was some other fruit? Durian. Basta di nila kanon, di ba? Kung durian, ayun I love to eh. Di ba? Baho kayo.
Kabaho, anak. Yeah, pero then again, like I still don't understand, apple ang most common nga depiction. Pero somebody pointed this out a while back. Like I saw like a reel material of like a Christian preacher. He was talking about we don't actually know what the fruit looks like. This is just like a artistic interpretation lang siguro ang apple. And
Maybe the first group of people who drew that image was probably around a lot of apples, or maybe it was a
Maybe.
country with a lot of apples, right?
Maybe.
So most likely it's probably in the West yun, di ba? Kay apples ko, di ba? Murag ka ng apples, mo man na atong murag fruit sa West, di ba? Diba?
Really?
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure about that.
Kanang apple spy, kanang di ba? Kanang apple spy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of jokes about Apple and the United States panalitan. So I think it's really primarily like a Western construct, di ba? Kanang the fact that the fruit of the fruit in the garden of wisdom or knowledge,
The tree of
the tree of wisdom is
Apple.
an apple, di ba?
Yeah. That really might
So
be the case.
kaning atong mga pangitabo karon, Ralph, including the conflicts that we're seeing on television, is just a continuation of the fall. Is that what the Christian doctrine says, more or less?
More or less, that's what the Christian doctrine believes. That when that happened, that put us in disconnection. That disconnected us from God, and the holy nature and all that, and it put in us what do you call this? The original sin. It's something that is passed down through the generations. So we carry that sin in us from birth, and the belief is that if you turn to God, you can wash away your sins, and that's one of the things that you're getting rid of. That's why they believe that once you do, like, you genuinely turn yourself to God, it's not just what do you call this, like I repent for my sins, I'm fine now. The belief is that once you become born again through Christ, it's a reshaping of the heart. You're changing the nature of your heart. So down to your innermost thoughts, your innermost desires, everything. It's become reborn anew, something like that. That's the belief, and because of the stain of the original sin.
One of the things that I also see and read and also can watch on television about, especially when there's a war happening in some part of the world, is the word apocalypse.
Yeah.
Di ba? Mura man na siya kaning mura kunog the second coming of Christ ba?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
can you explain to us, Ralph, unsa may what is the Christian story about the apocalypse, right? There's supposed to be like the rapture
Yeah, yeah.
and
The
all of
final
that
war.
stuff, the final war,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
kanang gubat mura na siya murag prelude na siya sa apocalypse ba?
Or yeah, the final days.
And the final days, di ba? So
Mhm.
tell me about that because I always hear that nga padung na ta sa apocalypse and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, well, I mean, there's the Christian,
Yeah, the Christian.
yeah, the
I'm asking.
Christian foretelling of the rapture and how this is preceded, before the rapture. It's like this is going to be this huge global conflict, basically, and basically everything's gonna be chaos, and then that's when God steps in. Wait, I might be getting this wrong. Actually, does the rapture happen first, and then the world falls into conflict? I forget. I
Okay.
forgot.
But it always comes up, sa?
Yeah. There's some kind of like
And
major conflict.
In fact, I see some corners of the internet nga murag mag-celebrate sila ba nga na conflict ba because padung na ang second coming and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is a kind of a happy thing for them because finally we're going to be
One with God.
absorbed by God in the rapture, right?
Yeah.
Di ba ka ng rapture ba dili man tanan ba katong mga lain ng mga
The
pagtuo
chosen lang.
katong mga chosen one lang.
Yeah. Supposedly, it's only going to be the chosen few, those who turn to God and rely on God. And that's the belief there. And really, maybe ang imong mga nakita kay there's a particular, what do you call this, sect of Christianity known as Christian Christian evangelicals, or is it evangelicalism? forgot the-
Evangelical Christian siguro.
Yeah, evangelical Christians. I forgot the exact term for it, but these are people. I think this belief or this sect started primarily in the United States, I believe, and there's a lot of them that view conflict, in particular conflict in the Middle East, as a sign of the times, and a sign that the Lord is coming, something like that. And yeah, they do. It does get pretty it does get pretty weird how some of them like react to it online, because some of them are just like, yay.
We're talking about
so weird.
Christianity na and the Christian doctrine. Not because si Ralph padong na niyo ka pastor ako padong ako pagapare dili ang atong hisgutan karon i-contextualize na to ba ang perception of certain religions ba of war, di ba?
Yeah.
Because people are saying manggod and of course it's probably partially true but only partially true. Most of these conflicts, especially in the Middle East, are also partly about religion, aside from geopolitics, aside from economics, aside from oil. Daghan kayo ang nagsulti, mabasahan nato nga part of this is really a conflict of ideology ba, of beliefs ba. In fact, they're saying kaning ang Iran kuno is mura og Islamic Republic man sila, di ba? Theocracy man sila.
Yeah,
So
they are a theocracy.
so their point of view is really this is a holy conflict, di ba?
Yeah.
In fact, let me read to you the Islamic point of view of conflict. In Islam, conflict is viewed through the lens of justice and struggle. The internal versus the external. The concept of the struggle is central. While often misunderstood as purely external war, the greater struggle is the internal struggle against one's own ego and base desires to achieve peace. Conflict is seen as a disruption of the natural order. Resolution focuses on restoring justice and reconciliation. A permissibility conflict is not always avoided. It is permitted in the face of oppression or in self-defense, provided strict ethical codes are followed to minimize them. So muna siya ang mura ang perception or ang murag ilang doctrine ba as far as conflict goes ba pananaw sa Islam, 'di ba? So which is actually very interesting because we always a lot of people, although this is a very I would imagine a very small sector of the faith is kanang I'll just say it once, mga jihadists ba
Yeah.
This is really part of their culture and their religion ba nga. They will do this uh, be a part of a deadly conflict in the name of their god, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
Munang kuyaw kay tanan, what happened to 911, di ba? And other events, di ba nga mura og
Yeah.
they strap uh, their body with
Explosives.
explosives,
Mm.
and then they detonate in the middle of a crowded place,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
uh, getting fly planes into buildings, because they're all doing this in the name of their religion, of their
Mm.
faith, right?
Yeah.
And people are saying this is actually a very small fundamentalist group, but dili gyud ni siya prevalent as a faith.
Vast majority.
Oh, a vast
Mhm.
majority. So, but people are saying, manggod nga, if you read kuno, which I've never actually done, I've only read a very small part of it, of
Mhm.
the Quran kuno.
Yeah.
It, it is really implicit in their doctrine nga. You have to eliminate the infidels,
Mm-hmm.
ano bitaw, and fight for what is right,
Yeah.
what is holy, and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. So it's really there ba.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kani kunong mga moderates kuno, they call themselves moderates,
Yeah.
kanang motuo sa ilang libro, sa ilang mga holy teachings, pero not in its entirety,
Yeah.
and not in its pure unadulterated form. Murag
Yeah.
tagahanan nila og ganing pagtagad ang reality ba sa kalibutan ba. Kung imo ako nung i-accept ko no sila, kung imo ako no silang murag ipadayon ko no, and you do not murag disallow or go against the fundamentalists ko no, you actually are in a way encouraging them na hinuon. You know what I mean? If you're a moderate ba.
Yeah.
So they're saying importante kayo ang role sa moderates to really call out the extremists ba.
Yeah, definitely. I can agree with that. I think there was somebody who pointed out that yes, the vast majority of Muslims are peaceful, but if the vast majority of peaceful Muslims do not call out the minority, then you're just empowering them to continue what they're doing. And it's not like they're just killing or just they're just attacking people who are non-Muslims. They're also attacking Muslims if they believe that you're not faithful enough, you're not adhering to what they think you should adhere to. They will attack you too. So this very small minority is just very vocal. They have the equipment to carry out the conflicts that they want to carry out, and the vast majority, it's also hard to tell the people with the people with weapons to not be violent when you don't have weapons. So that's another problem, and that's probably why, even though like let's say in Palestine, in Gaza, if you look at somebody managed to do like a survey with people not just in Palestine but also in Israel. But a lot of Palestinian and Israeli youth do not approve of their leadership. They actually want them gone. But it's harder to be vocal about it in Palestine because you will be hunted down, basically. If you're vocal about your disapproval of their leadership, of Hamas, right? Hamas's leadership, then they will terminate you.
So Palestine is being led by Hamas. I mean, like,
yeah.
So kanina, di ba, proxy army man ni sa Iran also ang mga Hamas, di ba?
Yeah, they fund Hamas. Yeah.
So but ang political majority dito sa area are Hamas. Is that what you're saying? Murag sila nakadaog sa election and all of that stuff, right?
They won an election a while back, but it was from what I know, there's actually a lot of political fracturing inside it, because there's like a bunch of
other parties,
tribes,
also.
basically,
Other
tribes in there that are
Also
they're all
known-
trying to fight for power, basically.
Also known as political parties, right?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So there is an argument by Banga. The reason kuno nga medyo ngano kuno ingon ani ni kunong Islam kuno compared to Christianity is they're actually a relatively young religion.
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
they are.
relatively young compared to Christianity ba. So ang Christianity's already had their violent streak in the Inquisition and all of that stuff. Ang kani ko ng Islam kuno, it's still a kid and then it's still murag teenager ba. So kanang ganahan pa siya kani manumbag.
Oh.
Ana bitaw something like that bitaw.
Yeah, I think you can remember a time, Jiggy, when you were a teenager and sige ra kag panumbag ug
manum so, itlog akong surbagon. kay mura may maabtan ako. so what's the story on that, Ralph? Nganom day kung batanon ka day nga relihiyon day, nganom day violente day ka day.
In a lot of ways, yeah, because you still have a lot of hardliners and the hardliners and purists. I think
correct.
A lot of people point this out as well. Christianity actually underwent a reformation during the Renaissance period, I believe. There was a lot of reformists within the church. That's why there's also a lot of fracturing in terms of like the different sects of Christianity. The Protestantism movement came up, the Reformist movement came up. So there's been a lot of reforming within the Christian faith that happened.
So nabuak-buak ang Christianity into different sects, right?
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
So because some of them believe that the interpretation to be such, and some of them believe to believe in the interpretation to be as such. So murag dili kayo sila united. So
not completely.
So na fracture sila. Maybe they don't have as much strength as they perceived to have when they were still united. So maybe that's why siguro nga they're scared na to act up unsa man nganong unsa may reason nganong less violent man ang usa ka religion kung magadugay sila.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. With Christianity in particular, there was a reform to focus more on the message of Christ, to love
the Prince of Peace guguro na siya, di ba?
Yeah, lagi the Prince of Peace.
Di ba? Siya yung mag-away-away diyan, Prince of Peace, di ba? Naunsa.
Lagi. And katulaging do unto others. The golden rule that was taken that was something that was
mo na magbinumbahay day, do unto others as you want to others to do unto you. Huh?
Yeah.
Mo na mutually assured destruction. Huh? Is that what it is? Does that come from that?
No, definitely not that aspect.
That's why they have nukes pointed at each other, because do unto others as you want to others do unto you, or whatever, something like that.
Well, that's definitely not the message that he was preaching, but
okay.
Yeah, that was part of the reformist movement, and in Christianity to focus more on Christ and his message of peace and loving, and it's actually pretty interesting because I actually do know that there is a rather small, it's still small, but there is a growing reformist movement within Islam as well. And
what do you call them? Do they have like a name or something? Let's just call them reformists, right?
Yeah, let's just call right now. Let's just call them reformists. There was one particular speaker who moved away from the Middle East into the U.S. because better freedom of speech laws there, and she can actually voice her.
She
can actually voice her opinions. I forgot what her name was.
Anyway,
but she was.
What did she say?
She was really pointing out she was one of the people who I listened to that pointed out that Christianity underwent a reformation already a long time ago during the Renaissance period in particular.
So time
and Islam hasn't gone through that yet.
So time allows for their main source, which is the Bible and the Quran, to sort of litigate and screen and process all of the words written by supposedly their God or the omniscient being who wrote or inspired the book,
or
right?
The messenger,
or the messenger of those messages in their separate books. Murag makaagi na siya og daghang tao, so magkausab na, refine na, mahog, ma-tame na siya, mahog.
In a way, yeah.
Murag layo, dili na siya mao ang original interpretation, di ba? Ilan ang usbon, di ba?
Or not necessarily, or it's more like one way of looking at it is that they refined it to get to the true message.
Yeah.
Something like that. It could be that it's not a change in the message, but like it could refining it to get to the real message.
Or it could also be a refine nila para mo suit sa times, di ba? That's also another way of looking at it ba? There are different motivations siguro for changing a certain doctrine, di ba? Dili na siya mo bagay sa times ba, di ba? Ay panalitan ang doctrine sa Christianity, di ba? Naman to'y kaning gisulti nga pwede ka mo keep og slaves, di ba? Nya karon it doesn't apply anymore, di ba? So because slavery in most parts of the world is considered not good to keep a
Mm.
human being as a morog slave, di ba?
Yeah, actually, I'm
Yeah.
gonna push back on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There was no doctrine there was no passage
Ay,
in
ito
the
in the Ten
Bible.
Commandments lang.
No, no, there was no passage in the Bible that said that you can keep slaves.
Oh.
The passage was to treat your slaves well.
Okay. So unsa may
And if you are a slave,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So
to
but what is
work hard.
the implication is tudluan ka unsahon pag asikaso sa usa ka sa butang sa pasabot na nga na slave ilaw
uh,
ng slave ngano dili man ingon nga ayo na lang anyway
yeah, well,
ay na lang
another thing is that
ay na
the
lang
most common form of slavery back then actually was indentured servitude.
mm
So if
unsa
you
man indentured servitude kana nay postiso unsa man na
yeah, ang indentured servitude lahi siya sa the type of slavery that we usually see depicted with the American slave trade and all
Okay,
that, because kato kay they were just
unsa man
they were basically working for free a
Okay.
lot of times, and they would
Okay.
be abused and all that.
di paliton sila as commodities
Yeah,
di
yeah.
ba?
But they were bought as commodities, and they would basically be working and not getting paid at all.
Mo na modern
Indentured
slaves
yeah.
unsa man ang indentured
Indentured
slaves
servants were people who got into debt and would work for free to pay off that debt, basically.
So
Or something along
mo
the
na
lines.
siya mo na
Yeah,
siya
that was the most
slavery.
that was the most common form of slavery back then.
So anyway, that doesn't happen now, right?
Yeah, it
so
doesn't.
so because we don't like slaves
Yeah.
in this modern times, right? So nagyo tendency nga ang mga different ideologies, doctrines usab nila para mo suit sa times aside from other kaning reasons, right?
Yeah.
So it is very interesting that each of these biggest faiths, which is Islam and Christianity, have varying views about conflict and war, diba? And actually, I want to read also another point of view, which is known to be a relatively peaceful point of view, peaceful religion, at least in some quarters, kaning Buddhism,
Yeah.
right? Buddhism treats conflict primarily as a psychological and spiritual issue rather than a legalistic or moralistic one. Ang roots kuno sa conflict, according to Buddhism, is believed to stem from the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. It is seen as an inevitable result of attachment to the self and specific outcomes. The ahims, or the non-harming, the primary response to conflict is non-violence. Since all beings are interconnected, harming another is seen as harming oneself. And equanimity. Resolution is found through mindfulness and detachment. By changing one's internal conflict, or by changing one's internal reaction to a conflict, the external conflict often loses its power. So mo na siyang kaning Buddhist point of view ba?
Yeah.
One of the things that I hear about is that this line goodbye. This is one of my favorite lines. Please speak to it after you hear it. Kaning, there are no problems now. This is a Buddhist concept. There are no problems now. Problems require time and space to exist. Most of our problems reside in the past. Kana mga issues na to. Mga issues na to nga si ko ano gisumbag ko niya atong una ko niya pa human ni mouse ko, but right now there are no problems. Ang other place where our problems reside is the future also. Nga karon ako'y problema pero ugma ang bangko manuktok na sa balay nako kay kaning utangan ko or like another adulting problems, right? Nga we have to pay the bills and all of that stuff. So mo na siya ang Buddhism, ang iyahang concept kuno is murag hinhimo-himo na to ni ang kaning atong mga problema ba. Gihimo-himo na to ni atong mga problema, and you don't actually have problems because if you think about it, because it is stemming from the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusions. It is an inevitable result of attachment to the self. So because we're always thinking about what happens to us and all of that stuff, and we always look at the world from our selfish point of view, that's where all of this conflict arises. So that's actually a very interesting point of view also. What are your thoughts on that, Ralph? Tanaw nimo, like kaning gitawag nila og Buddhism, like they're saying this is one of the most peaceful forms of looking at the world. What are your thoughts on that, Ralph? Kanang mga tao nga mo meditate, di ba? Meditation and all of that stuff nga they're always stressed out and always in constant conflict with life itself, with work and family and all of the responsibilities of being alive. Kanang mo meditate ka every once in a while, but to understand nga all of these things that you're struggling is actually all just in many ways made up and you have to go to that place every once in a while to understand that it is, but of course doesn't mean that you're going to stay there forever and be a monk, right? But just every once in a while realize that. What are your thoughts on that Buddhist point of view, Ralph, when it comes to conflict and war?
Well, I think it's very interesting, right? One of the things that they think is the root causes of conflict and all that is delusion. I thought that was pretty funny actually. Delusion. So in a way, it's just like another way of saying pride, right? It's another way of saying pride, but to me, calling it delusion is much funnier than calling it pride. And the need to be detached from the self, the need to be in order to and viewing conflict as not because of how interconnected everything is supposedly in the world. When you harm another, you're harming yourself. I think that's it's a kind of if you think about it, it is a very self-centered way of viewing things. Even though you're trying to detach yourself, you're trying to detach from the self. You're also at the same time you're viewing conflict as, if I harm somebody else, I'm actually hurting myself. So that
isn't that similar to do unto others as you want others to do unto you?
Yeah, in a way, yeah, in a way. Pero kan what detaching yourself, detaching, yeah, from yourself, and then at the same, but I don't know how to phrase it if I'm phrasing it correctly, but I just think it's a very interesting mindset.
Yeah,
and I mean,
we're
do we
talking.
know any wars that or conflicts that are started by Buddhists?
I don't think so. I don't think so. So, kung nahibong mo mga kailan unsa atong gisgutan karong adlaw, atong gisgutan karong adlaw, mga different operating systems, different religions, and their points of view about conflict and kaning chaos, right? So we talked about the Christian point of view of conflict. We talked about the Islam point of view of conflict and the Buddhist's point of view of conflict, right? These are operating systems. Importante ni siya, Ralph. Kaya mo ni siya ang operating system. A lot of people always tell me, and I hear this a lot, Ralph, nga, the last thing you want to talk about is, in the dining table is religion and politics. Nakadungog na ka na, Ralph? Nakadungog na ka na, nga, you don't talk about religion.
Actually, on our end, it's like, don't talk about politics. We're fine with talking about religion, though.
But that's your family, right? But I'm talking about like your advice, but to people, nga, you're being invited to
somewhere,
somebody's dinner or whatnot, somebody's party. You don't talk about religion because that's guaranteed to create a kind of conflict, ba? So, but ang akong pushback ba is, kana magong religion ug politics manggod mo magong operating system ni magod. That is why you are who you are because of your beliefs and your ideologies, di ba? Kung dili na mo hisgutan, murag kaning murag ngano man nga to understand me more is to understand my politics, is to understand my religion, di ba? So murag para nako counter hinon ba murag ironic hinon ba nga mo na advice nga madunggan ako sa tanan or kadaghanan nga ayaw pagisgot ng religion ug politics ba kay kaning fraud kani sa tanan kanang maggarandisado na nagi mag-away and all of that stuff. Ngano magdebate lang without fighting di ba?
Well, that's the thing. Where people can get very, very heated about their personal beliefs and all that, and if there's one thing people hate the most or commonly hate the most, it's being wrong. So whenever you
You hate being wrong? Ikaw?
no, I said in common ba? In general. What I mean
We're,
is like
we're,
in general.
we're not common
Yeah.
we're not common people, right?
No,
Kami ni Ralph ug ni Jiggy Juice diri kani nga dili mi common nga tao, di ba? Kay we can argue away without fighting, di ba? Dili ta mag-away, di ba?
Yeah.
Mura lang mag-away paminahon, di ba?
Siguro.
Pore naghuman, mangapi na pug together, mag-inom
Yeah.
na pug beer together, pero mura lang gaaway paminahon, di ba?
Lagi.
Wa pa man ta sukmagay, di ba? Wala pa. That's
Wala
the
pa.
operative word. Wala pa. So ngano gaito Raf ngano kaha nga
Moabot yun siya sa point nga
dili ngano man nga mo nagi-advise sa mga
Sa mga
tao.
tao.
Maybe it's because we cannot carry an argument. We cannot have a just a
Discussion.
healthy discussion,
Yeah.
healthy conversation, even a healthy debate
Mhm.
about something. Okay, look what we just did, di ba? We just read the different religions of the world, nga
Yeah.
major, di ba? Christianity, Islam, and we failed to talk about Hinduism, but Buddhism, right? So we talked about it, and we kind of understood what they were trying to say, right?
Yeah.
And mura og okay man sad. I mean, like that's their point of view.
Yeah.
Mo ana lang ang passionate kayo about their religion nga. Sige mo na yung pagtuo, pero ang akong pagtuo na ni lahi gyud ta, pero sige lang kani nga nganong di ay lahi tag pagtuo di ay nganong maabot mo gid sa conflict, Ralph.
Well, maybe a lot of what na discuss nato karon isn't as in depth as
Of course
the
not.
usual
Of course not.
discussions
Tapaw ra
are.
kayo, Ralph.
Yeah,
Tapaw ra kayo.
tapaw ra kayo.
Pero
So
more or
maybe,
less that was
yeah.
that's the point of view of these religions as far as conflict goes.
Yeah, and maybe it's the finer details that really gets the conversation heated. Maybe pag-abot sa finer details like
Like give me an example of a fine detail nga makig-away.
wait, I'm trying to think of it
Pane,
right now.
let's talk about homosexuality, Bik. Ganahan mo kita controversial. Ganahan mo ka homosexuality, Ralph. I don't know why. Kaning di ba, mura man naay part sa Bible nga maingon nga maadto ka sa impyerno, di ba? Kung homosexual ka, di ba?
Same with the Quran.
Oh, same with the Quran, di ba? So unsa man na kaning is that the finer details that you're talking about?
No, definitely not that. I wasn't talking about like what is and what isn't viewed as sin, because if we're talking about conflict in the Middle East, it's usually conflict between Muslims and Christians and
but I'm talking
the Jews.
But I'm talking
right?
about general conflict. But and I'm looking for a specific example. Nga,
Yeah. And I'm trying to get to that, and you jumped immediately towards homosexuality.
That's a law.
I don't know. I don't know why you jumped to homosexuality. I don't know why that was your first thought.
Mo mangoy low lying fruit. Good mo akong gi-grab na lang.
Dude, it's just something that's on your mind, dude.
Anyway, so unsa man imong example there, Ralph?
Well, I'm trying to think about it. Like,
kanang
Gone.
finer details,
This
mga
is-
nuances of a religion nga nga ang mga tao makigpatay, makig-away na hinuon. Unsa man kuno pananglitan?
well, for one is probably one of the biggest differences between Islam and Christianity is how Jesus Christ is viewed, because Jesus Christ in Islam is viewed as one of the messengers of God. He's viewed as a prophet, and he's seen as a what do you call this, a reliable source of the faith, and and a messenger from God. But he in Christianity, he's viewed as one with God. He is the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Trinity. He's part of the Trinity. And one of the most common arguments I'd see online is from people who street preachers and all that, who get into arguments with people. It's about that, whether or not Jesus Christ is God and whether or not he's just like a messenger from God. That's one of the finer.
So makig-away ang mga tao na.
Yeah.
Muna sila reason for
They can get into debates about it on the street, and then muinit yun ang debate.
Bay, tanaw nimo bay. Wa man ganay kahumanan siguro bay. Nag-ingon sila kuno kanang debates and arguments about religion and politics. Wa man kuno nay kahumanan bay. Tinuod na bay nganong wa man nay kahumanan. Nya mahuman na lang sa kaning pinatyanay noon or violence or whatever, right? So
Well,
ngano man
I think
unsay imong tanaw bay ngano man ka nga uh, dili man na mahuman.
I think it goes back to again the most common thing about that a lot of people share is that we do not like to be wrong. We want to be right about what we believe in, especially if kanang sunken cost fallacy I've already dedicated 20 years of my life to this. I don't want to be wrong about this. I am not going to
Ngano man na ba?
sit here
What's
and
wrong?
feel like an idiot.
What's wrong with being wrong? Diba kay
Mm.
we are constantly updating our apps, our software.
Mhm.
Diba? We're constantly updating our technologies. Diba? There's always something better. There's always something newer, and our points of view are also ever changing. Diba?
Mhm.
In many things, in most things in life, mo adapt mo gyud ta, diba?
Yeah.
Ngano man nga sa usa ka gamay, or I should say, I should rephrase it. Usa sa mga dako kayo nga parts sa ato ang kinabuhi, which is our religion and politics. Nganong di man ta ganahan mo usab?
Well, ego.
Ego.
I think it all boils down to ego, to this delusion nga, I know exactly how to fix the world's problems. I know exactly what the world needs in order for the world to get better. Ego. I think it all boils down to ego, because even when there's a lot of people nga, if like in the online space in particular, it gets so funny because you get these moments where people get fact checked live, and new information is presented to them live, and you know what they do? They throw away the information. They disregard it. They like if they're watching a video that presents new information, they'll turn off the video. They'll look away, and then they'll be like, okay, let's look at something else. I've seen that time and time again.
Ngano man na, because I remember before, in a previous episode of Top of the Morning, naghisgot tani ana gamay, naghisgot ti ana nga tani ana nga kana di ay atong point of view, kana atong mga pagtuo, kung dili na siya mao, mura na tag dili na mawagtang na ang atong self, because ang atong we have invested our entire lives to this ideology, to this belief niya paghuman dili na mao, dili na mahimo, right? Dili na mahimo. I cannot accept that. Is that what it is?
Something like that. Yeah, like sunken cost fallacy. Like, I've invested so much into this belief, so much time into this belief, and then to now 10 years later be proven wrong. It hurts.
Pero ngano man nga i-apply na to sa ubang dapit sa ato ang kinabuhi nya, dili man nato i-apply sa relihiyon o sa atong politics. Nganong pwede ra man ta masayop sa ato ang mga pangbuhat sa uban nga departments, but why those specific things in our lives, politics and religion? Ngano man?
Who says that people don't apply it to other aspects of their lives? You think people don't apply this to science?
No, but what I'm saying is, because we're talking about religion now.
No. But you asked me why don't we apply this to every other aspect of life? Why is it only religion? Why is it only politics? It's not. It's not.
Actually, if you think about it, in defense of science, science is a self-correcting discipline, right?
Yeah,
and it thrives on being wrong. There are other scientists out there, because they're also humans. They have beliefs, right? They have hardcore beliefs, and they're sunk into those beliefs, maybe because of their faith, because of their politics and whatnot, right? So some people in the world of science, actually, you're right. There's some people who they defend their science to the death, and other information might be kind of rejected because of that belief, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It can also be nga ang ilahang there is a theory also. There's a morog law nga kung imuha ko I forgot what it's called. Kung ang imo ko nung panginabuhi depends on something to be true, then you will defend to the death, no matter how impossible it may seem, that particular truth, right?
Yeah.
So kung imong panginabuhi, pananglita, let's give you a controversial example. Imong panginabuhi is for this vaccine to be effective, and your livelihood depends on that to be true. So imo gyud ang panindigan, di ba? So that science and other disciplines are always susceptible to human stuff.
Exactly.
I'm just saying this is more prevalent in politics and religion. Of course, all other facets of reality, all facets of life are susceptible to our humanness, diba? Our
Yeah,
humanity,
exactly.
diba?
Mhm.
So, but why is it nga, it's more predominant in these two departments? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I disagree. I don't think it's
Okay.
more predominant.
So what other
I don't
what
think.
other areas of life manda is kaning mura og doubling down on something more predominant or more prevalent, sorry.
Oh, it's not about whether it's more predominant. You already said it yourself. It's part of human nature.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is something
yeah.
we apply to everything.
Yeah,
Jen.
yeah, correct,
And
yeah.
it's not like we apply it more to this.
Yeah, but
I
so
think,
so you don't so what are the other aspects there that would rival religion and politics?
what other what
Nga,
are
nga
the
people
other,
are digging down in their beliefs about something to be true.
well I don't know how to describe this. What aspect of life this is?
Because
The dietary aspect of
Mm-mm.
life, I guess you could call it that. One, veganism and vegetarianism. Those two things. There's been a recent
But
surge in popularity.
I don't see any wars fought because of veganism.
Well, that's because the vegans aren't in power yet.
Okay. So vegans are not in power yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of vegans who are presidents and
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Well,
so not yet, not yet.
I think there were some vegan presidents, not maybe in the United States, but in some parts of the world. Anyway,
Really?
So,
Not
so
that
veganism.
I know of.
So you're
Yeah.
saying kaning atong pride our pride, our belief nga we are right and they are wrong is also it has infected everything.
Yeah, it has for sure.
Because it's the human thing to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Even the way people like raise their children.
Yeah.
Like they will not accept any kind of it's hard for them rather to accept any kind of constructive criticism about the way they raise their kids.
I remember by kana bitong mga kanang homeschooled nga mga bata.
Yeah.
Bro, grabe kay na sila ka-passionate na sa. Nakabantay ka na nga mura sila kaning mu ingod sila nga I don't want my kids to be like, it's exposed to the world and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, like that. Stuff like that.
It makes me feel evil actually. in a way, bang, what's wrong with the world? Right? Because I'm part of the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in a way, yeah. Like I said, it bleeds down into every aspect of our life. And that one example I gave out earlier,
Veganism
and all that. There's actually studies that are popping up recently about the alternative or a different way of what do you call this, of planning out your diet. And it's the carnivore diet basically. So all meat in a diet, and the potential and health benefits around it. And it's very interesting because there are a lot of doctors who are pointing out that actually the studies are showing that the carnivore diet is actually, it might be healthier for us as people, because it seems like us as human beings, we might be, although we are omnivores, we might actually be more better equipped to get nutrients out of meat than out of fruits and vegetables. So, an all carnivore diet might actually be healthier than an all vegetable diet.
So
I remember seeing like this.
But that's
huge-
always the thing with diets, mga good ba? That's always changing, mga good, diba?
the science around it.
Grabe yung kay ka fluid ng kaning one time, like cholesterol was bad, and another time it's good. You can't eat eggs, and it's always changing. But so the thing with it, somebody's always right and somebody's always wrong all the time, right?
Yeah, and that's just the aspect of science.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you present that information to somebody who's been a vegetarian, a vegan their whole life. They might go ballistic. There are so many examples. This is why people also like to make fun of vegans and vegetarians, because there's so many examples online.
Si Bay Jaya ba? Vegan man na si Bay Jaya ba?
Yeah,
Moingon siya nga kaning ato tag-party. Or and I invite him for dinner, right?
Yeah.
So before I knew him, like I would like order anything, right?
Yeah.
But karon ang mga na may ganang vegan nga restaurant, di ba?
Yeah,
Pero
yeah.
kung naay i-serve nga meat, okay ra man siya nga, di ko makaon na ba, pero
Yeah,
kaning
bitaw.
kuhaon lang akong kuan, katula ako ang chapsuy niya, wala lay meat, all
Yeah,
that stuff,
lagi.
right? So
Yeah,
chill naman siya, di man siya masuko, pero naay uban nga masuko gyud ay.
Masuko kayo,
Masuko gid
and
sila.
murag mukuan sila, like they start getting very rude towards you. They start getting very aggressive towards you.
Really? You've
Yeah.
had experience of that?
Not personally, but you can find it online. You can see a lot of videos
Okay.
online of like yeah, kon pa jud, like they get very kon gani kanang
But it has something
they
to do
start
with
condescending you.
it has something to do with inflicting pain to a life, 'di ba? Moment na siya, 'di ba? That's what they
Some
feel
of
so
them.
strongly about nga
Some of them,
nga
not all of
nga
them.
nganong mag-inflict man ka og pain sa usa ka animal, sa usa ka
Mhm.
baboy or sa ka
When
kanding
it's alive, yeah.
when it's alive and it's just like you alive, ngano imo nang patyon para makakaon ka?
Yo, that's
Is that the main, is that the crux of the belief or
that's part of it. That's
uh,
part of it. But
environmental also ng uban?
yeah, that's another aspect of it as well. And a lot of them are environmentalists. A
Mm.
lot of them don't like the idea of hurting animals because animals have feelings, though,
Mm-mm.
and animals are alive. As if the plants that they're eating aren't alive themselves.
It's funny
They are.
we're talking about the perception of conflict by these major religions, which is Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism, and now you talked about which is a kind of religion, veganism. But you know what we fail to talk about, Ralph, which is actually also very important from a secular point of view, ba? The economic argument of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
The economic argument of conflict, meaning there is only scarce resources and we need to fight over it, right? Mura bag na ay usa ka butang nga wala ko unya paghuman kung wala ko ana dili ko maka-function as a society, as a nation, ya makigubat ko para makakuha ko anang nga resource or whatnot, right? And in this case, obviously, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about oil, di ba? So, what do you think of that, Ralph? Nga kani siyang mga religious reasons for conflict is actually just a facade, but in reality, this is really about resources. This is really about fighting for resources. What do you think? What do you think of that kaning mura og umbrella reason ba why we have all of these different reasons of fighting for something, of conflict kanang atong gitawag og religious or political, but in reality murag disguise lang na siya kay ang pagkatinuurag yun is we want resources for ourselves, for our family, for our community, for our nation. And kung wala ko ana nga resource, kung magkuwang ko ana nga resource, basig ang atong nasod kaning gutomon, or kung dili
Mhm.
manggali kung dili gutomon kaning mura og dili nako mahimong leader kay dili nako popular
Mhm.
because wala ko naka-provide sa akong nasod and so on and so forth. So what do you think of this, Ralph? Nga kani di ang mga religious motivations nato mura og mura na siya disguise. In reality, this is really about kaning resources and the economic uh, underpinnings of most conflicts.
Well, I think that's definitely the motivation for our leaders.
Mm.
Maybe that's not the motivation that they feed to us
Mm.
as as the ones who will actually be on the ground and taking the shots that they won't be taking,
Mm.
and getting the shots that they won't be getting.
Mm.
I think that's always been the main driver, Jude, for these conflicts that involve taking over another place, or or changing the leadership of another place to make and then placing in new leadership that's more favorable to good relations with you, which could include good trade relations. So I think the economic underpinnings have always been a major factor, Jude, when
Mm.
it comes to these types of things.
So possibly ba nga mga leaders o sa kanasod ilaha lang gibutangan og kaning how do you call this, religious tone ang ilahang pag-control sa mga tao
Mm.
para ang ilahang economic ends ma-meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely
Mm.
I could definitely say that is likely the case,
Mm.
especially when it came to the Crusades
Oh.
and all that. I think when the Islamic Crusades happened, it was for the sake of getting more land, and when the Christian Crusades happened, same thing.
Nganong kinanglan man ta? Why do
Mm.
we need all of these operating systems? Why do we need Christianity, Islam, Hinduism or Buddhism. Why does a leader need that? Why don't we just tell the people and be honest nga that we are fighting for resources? Nganong day kana lang ba? Nganong dili butangan pa man nato og kaning one layer of reason. Dili na enough ba?
Definitely not enough. You think
the economic reason is not enough?
You think if being honest was enough to get people to fight, don't you think everybody would be doing it?
So dili gid mahimo nga sultian nato ang mga katawan sa tinuod nga this is just a conflict about resources.
Or to say nga actually this guy doesn't like us. If we get rid of him, we could get richer.
Something like that,
Yeah,
right?
something like that.
Marag Marag mabora kayo? Marag saman?
Mabaw jud kayo siya paminawan.
So mabora gyud today.
Uh-huh. Yeah. or no, I think it shows nga these conflicts mabaw kay sila. And people aren't about that. Because if you tell them that this is all this is the goal, this is all we want out of this, most people will pull out. They don't want to do that. Like why should I risk my life so everybody else, including the people who are in charge, can get richer? And you won't be feeling the benefits of that immediately. They will, not you. So it shows nga more so than mabauta. We do not get into these grand nga conflicts without a greater sense of purpose behind it. So mabaw ang kaning mga conflicts, but not the people necessarily, because a lot of them get into it for kanang mga grandiose nga ideas. I remember during the Great War, which was WW1, people viewed it as like a lot of men who got drafted to that conflict. A lot of them went into it thinking like, oh, this is adventure. This is they had this like romanticized idea of conflict and how it can build up brotherhood and all that, and like, yes, I get to travel somewhere, I get to explore new places. Those types of ideas, grandiose ideas behind it,
and also the idea of democracy, right? And freedom, diba? We're fighting for your freedom, diba? Nga, like they always refer to democratic republics as the free world, diba? The free world against the Middle Eastern conflicts, right?
Caliphate.
Yeah. So murag kanang freedom po is also a very galvanizing idea, diba? Democracy, I mean.
Maybe in the early 2000s, but not so much these days. I think a lot of people are really
really you don't think that the idea of a democracy is worth fighting for? Not, or at least not anymore for most people in the world.
I think that excuse has been overused so much that people are numb to it.
They're still using it now, by the way. I mean, like in this particular
to an extent, but like it's not. I don't think it's the reason that people are getting behind it more than they were back then. I think there's other reasons that they're giving out that people can what do you call this? They gravitate more towards that. Or what's the term for that? I forgot the term exactly, but like basically they gave out other reasons as well that I feel like other people got behind more than this idea of like bringing freedom to the Middle East or something like that. In fact, I think they only mentioned that a few times, and they haven't brought it up since because they know it's not a popular message.
Of course, it pays to know. I'm sure people know this, but I just want to say this: that Iran is a theocracy, diba? A theocracy is a government run by a particular religion, diba, Raf? So kaning Iran is run by I think a particular brand of Islam, diba, Raf? Sakto ba ko, Raf?
The split in Islam that I'm aware of is the Sunni and the
Shiites,
the split. Yeah.
So
those are the main splits that I know.
So kanang theocracy gamay na lang kaayo nga theocratic nations sa kalibutan, di ba? Mostly Middle Eastern na lang ang habilin, di ba?
Yeah.
Kanang wala man siguro theocracy nga Christian na pa ba, Ralph? Nga nasod sa kalibutan? Wala naman
Is
siguro.
is the Vatican not considered a
Ah, well, yeah,
theocracy?
you could say that, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a nation state, but it's not really a nation, right? So yeah, I guess you could say that, but Vatican is unique in its gone, because
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
literally
very
just
small.
a city. Yeah, it's
It's
literally
a
just
city.
a city.
Yeah, so that's just very interesting to note, banga. This is really just about resources niya. Kanang uh, the fact nga kung namanggali kagubot sa Middle East ang presyo sa gasolina mo saka de kalit karon. My goodness, 130 pesos na per liter ang diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Maka-gastritis lagi kung mutanang kas presyo sa kuan sa gasolina, purting mahala na gyud unya. Ang reason na gyud ani tanan tungod gyud sa gubat gyud sa Middle East, di ba? Wa may lain gyud. Unya niingon si Trump o iyahang mga officials nga kaning gubata kuno murag ipila na lang kaadlaw, they're winding it down, and there's a growing feeling the president of the United States will already declare victory without securing the Strait of Hormuz. So murag I don't know if you saw this, but ang Dow Jones Index ni saka lagkalit, ni green nagkalit ba because of those pronouncements ba. So grabe kayo ang ka-fluctuating ang stock exchange kay mo ni ang murag economic barometers ba. Kung naay good news, di ba?
Yeah.
Grabe kayo niya mo react raman ang kalibutan ani kung unsay may tabo sa New York Stock Exchange mo ang tibok kalibutan mo react man sad. So I think it was considered kind of a good day yesterday in the world of economics, but like everything that happens in the world temporary ra nga murag kung nanasay magbinumbahay na balik na sa saka ana ba.
Yeah,
So
stuff like that.
makaingon jud ka nga economics sa gyud ni siya ang main driver aning atong conflicts, the main reason for most conflicts of the world.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and in fact, I think I've said this already a few times, where I think that the main driver between this, or a lot of what Trump has been doing recently, has been his economic
So kung walay
combat with China.
Kung walay religious layer by, why makigubat? Is that what you're saying? Kung walay religious or political layer, walay isog enough nga makiga moadto sa usa ka langyaw nga lugar unya makigubat? Does that make people less motivated if there's no layer of religion and ideology
Or greater purpose.
or a greater purpose nga economic ra nga kung nga tani patay kaon murag doesn't that motivate people enough?
Kana kay that will motivate people. Kana that's what I said, the greater purpose. But that's not really the case right now, right? Because you're not necessarily going to starve if you don't bomb the Middle East. The US has a lot of food reserves. In fact, they have.
But the world is starving now, beginning to starve at least. We are beginning to starve in the Philippines.
Well, yeah, but
we're not even part of the war, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of the conflict.
But that's the trickle down effects towards us because of the
Our dependence.
Yeah, the global connectedness and all that, and yeah, it can certainly get very annoying.
Maayong adlaw ni Budia Kenji's Galuyan. Daghang salamat sa imuhang pagtanaw sa ato ang programa ang gitawag na tog Top of the Morning. Thank you so much for watching Top of the Morning. Kenji, Galuyan Vlog, and Ed Mark, and everybody. Thank you so much, you guys. Dozens are watching us right now, and you guys are about to celebrate or are already celebrating the Holy Week, or I should say not celebrating, but observing Holy Week, and maybe perhaps celebrating Easter. Atong isugutan karong buntaga has a lot to do with religion. It is a conversation about the nature of conflict as far as the world of Christianity goes, as far as the way Islamic religion looks at it, as far as the way Buddhists look at it, and as far as the secular world also views it from its economic motivation. Why should we be in conflict with our neighbors? because we want something that they have, or we want to protect something that we have, diba? We
Yeah.
don't want to share because this is enough for my family, and the nerve of you to mangawat ka og bayabas ako ang kahoy, di ba? Amuha man na para amuha man ng konsumo, di ba?
Yeah.
Mag-away, mag-away, madula sa barangay kay magdanag sundang. Bayabas na nagiawayan, di ba?
Yeah.
That's really like a microcosm of conflict, di ba?
In a way, yeah, it is. Yeah, it can be like the smallest thing sometimes. In those cases, I think ang kuan did ana, ang kuwang did ana is mananggid ka.
Mananghid ka.
Okay.
Oh.
Kana lang jud
Unya
mananggid.
panangin la. Kung sa garbuso sa kayang silingan ni mo maingon nga, "So, amo man ang biyabas, kamoy tanong man pagtanong biyabas dito." Mato pa ni Trump, get your own oil in Hormuz, di ba? Di ba?
Yeah,
So,
lagi.
paghilabot sa mong biyabas, amo man ni pagtanom niya garbuso masuko na nanay
lagi.
gap, di ba?
Lagi.
Nanay straight, di ba? So
Nanay.
eventually ana pantay na ka makitaan ka na ko sa sari-sari store bagon jud na ako. True enough, nagahubog-hubog tong usa sos magisumbag dayon yung sigawan bayabas ra.
Lagi.
It sounds very kind of stupid, but it actually happens.
It sounds like
Yeah.
personal experience.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Asa man ka.
Na tinagbasay because of bayabas. Yeah. So, but I think, yeah. I think you have to have like a layer of kaning something ba para dili kayo morog dili kayo mabaw ang imuhang pagkatao, di ba? Murag
Lagi.
nagig-away ko dili tungod sa bayabas. Ang prinsipyo ato kanang bayabas sa manggod kaning nilabang manggod sa koral na mo. Amo naman tong property dito, di ba? So amo atong yuta.
Oh.
Amo atong bayabas.
Oh.
Kay nitungod man sa koral, di ba?
Lagi.
So now you're rooting your argument and your conflict with
legality.
legality na, di ba? Di ba?
Oh, yeah.
So, murag dili kay ka mabawng imong ganahan kam ka og bayabas, murag gud. Di ba?
Lagi.
Funny how our minds work, beza.
Yeah, it is. Pero I think it also, it really, for me, but it really highlights the fact that we can be shallow as people, but deep down we seek higher meaning. We look for this bigger purpose in life. And I think somebody pointed out that this can be especially true in particular for guys. Like probably the biggest reason why a lot of this is something they talked about. Maybe the biggest reason for the depression rates in men is because men seek this higher purpose in life, but and a lot of them can't seem to find it. Something along the lines of that.
Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Survival is not purpose enough, right?
No.
For some people, right?
Yeah, no, it's not.
Or maybe they never had to think about that particular problem, diba? Surviving.
Survival.
Maybe they have
maybe.
everything that they have, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And they don't have to fight for resources. So murag mangita sila higher purpose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So pag-away nila og Celtics fan, di ba? Di ba bay? Di ba? Na kay outlet sa imong kuan ba kaning purpose seeking ba, di ba? Di ba?
Ang imong purpose is to be a sports fan nga.
Di ba? Di ba bay? So I think bay kaning atong sports fans bay ba? Not to kaning more og take on a detour ba, but I think this is related, right? Kaning atong kanang conflict between different teams, di ba? Let's talk about our teams, Lakers and the Celtics. Grabe mo ganyan, age-old kuan may conflict man nila, di ba?
Yeah, bitaw.
Di ba? So
Rivalry
man ila. So maybe kinanglan lang ka og outlet ba to show your partisanship, your purpose seeking ba, di ba?
Yeah.
Di ba?
Yeah, and it can be like a bit of a microcosm in a
Yeah,
way.
exactly.
Kaya kanumdum ko sa this is really funny kay I didn't even know nga ang kaning miga na ko kay basketball fan siya ba?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe she was just a basketball fan at the time.
Okay.
Basta she was a fan of the Warriors sa 2016.
Okay.
And remember the 2016 finals, diba? Ni comeback mo tong Cavs.
Oh,
napildi na LeBron. And I was actually a Cavs fan.
Okay.
Because I'm a LeBron fan. So
Okay.
I was like cheering for the Cavs.
Okay.
And yeah, late ko nakayabaw nga kon. They won Game 7 where I was after lunch, but yeah, I happened to run into my friends sa cafeteria.
Oo.
Sa isa ka kalendarya sa gawa sa school ba,
Oh.
and they were there. They were looking kind of distraught, and then I could see
Watching the TV?
Yeah, watching the TV, and I could see that they were already celebrating, and I was like, "Oh, gisi daog, and they're like, "Daog ang Cubs," and I was like, "Oh, yes!" I was like, "Sabada, bagon ni karon." I was like, "Whoa, kalma lang."
So maybe it kind of diffuses, right?
You know,
Our kaning
primal nga kon.
primal instincts ba, di ba? Our need to have a purpose and to have something to fight for and all of that stuff, right?
In a way, yeah. Maybe it does. Maybe that's why there's so many people can like gravitate towards sports.
Yeah.
And can get very, very
Or kanang mga
Violent about sports.
competitive kay ba, masing mag-pickleball lang, magbugno, di ba? Kanang mag-basketball, magsinumbagay, di ba?
Yeah,
Di ba ba?
yeah.
So
Kana-
maybe
kana-
that's really part of our nature ba, to have a kind of strong purpose bang, I have to
Lagi.
win this game.
Yeah, lagi.
Right?
Lagi.
Even I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure our listeners probably don't know this. At least most of our listeners. Luka Doncic was suspended in yesterday's or the last game against the Wizards, right? Because naabot na og 16 ka technicals, di ba? Kana si Luka Doncic tan-aw na ko mangita gyud nag-away ba kanang sige ba complain.
Yeah.
Your call is wrong or whatever, there was a foul and all of that stuff, right? And sometimes he blurts out profanities in Slovenian, di ba?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So di makasabot ang referee, pero
Yeah.
I think it's also just him looking for like a purpose ba? Nganong singog duk og bulan isud na kog lungag nga nay net, di ba? It seems very stupid, right?
Yeah.
But kung mangita kog purpose, di ba nga,
Yeah.
daog yun ko, di ba?
Yeah, like I really want to beat this guy.
Butangan ni dagaan kag crown, di ba? Kaning kanang champion sa kuan sa NBA kanang the crown, the cup, di ba? What there's a name for that, right?
NBA
They have a name for the something cup, right? Anyway,
NBA Cup, yeah.
So mo na siya nga naay tagaan og purpose ba? Kanang mga runners tagaag medal, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
Why medal game makigubot, di ba?
Lagi.
Sige lang sige complain sa social media.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think it has a lot to do with that, right? Nga we need to have a layer of meaning so that we are motivated, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Ang atong gisugutan ganiya is the layer of meaning that religion gives people, di ba?
Yeah, exactly.
So kanisa siguro kanang medal, kanang trophy is another layer of meaning, di ba?
Yeah. I can definitely see that. Before I reply what I was gonna say about Luka Doncic,
No.
shout out tayo sa atong mga viewers sa atong Facebook Live na si Brandam Lihayan, na si JC Reyes, and si Sam Only. Shout out po from Davao de Oro.
Woohoo!
Woo!
Daghang
Let's go.
salamat, Davao!
And to add to your point about Luka like looking for a bit of conflict on the court, it definitely does feel that way, and I think he gets really motivated.
Correct, yeah.
In a lot of instances,
Yeah.
nga kon when things get really heated. Kaya I remember they were talking about sa game nila against the Chicago Bulls na atoy gitrash talk daw si Matas Buzeles padung sa iyaha, and it woke him up daw. We're naka duha siya tanaw ni Matas Buzeles, and he's like, you know what? We're winning this game. I'm gonna win this game for us, and I think in a way, but he wants to antagonize somebody so that person will try to antagonize him back, and that will just like get him going. Ba for me, that's what it feels like.
So this is really, basketball is really like a kind of microcosm of conflict, of war, ba? Of all these battles that we're fighting, because kung walay layer of meaning, kung walay crown, kung walay championship, ang imuhang buhaton isud mo og kaning bola sa usa ka lungag nga naay net. Yeah, do that often enough, kinanglan without fouling, daog ka. Nya mura mana. Murag meaningless kayo, di ba? Pero katagaan mo mga shiny objects, plus putangan mo dagko mo kanila mga sweldo, di ba? So and the people are cheering you and all of that stuff. So murag ma-purposeful na imong pagdukdok sa bola, ihug nimo og usa ka lungag nga naay kaning net, di ba? So mura sa nang gubat, di ba? Nga ikaw kung makiaway lang ka tungod sa pan or sa bayabas, kikpatay ka tungod sa bayabas, matapaw kayo, di ba? So kinahanglan gitag layer of reason. It can't be just that. But the problem is, some people katong iingon ni mga depressed, murag the veil murag is down ba, murag di na sila makakita og og reason ba to wake up,
Yeah.
to do this thing called life, because they see the BS perhaps nga murag ano man anong something, what am I doing this for, right? Maybe they probably feel nga we're just all gonna die in the end, right? So
Yeah.
what am I fighting for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So mo na importante jud kay ng murag purpose, and that's what religion gives people. That's what politics gives people. That's
Yeah.
what the Lakers or the Celtics give people, a kind of purpose, di ba?
Yeah, for sure. And you can tell that even money, we can end up viewing that as very convoluted, very shallow ang desire for money. Because even the pursuit of happiness and wealth is not that's not enough to get a lot of these people motivated, because it can feel very shallow. This whole thing, it also feels very selfish at the same time. And people are inherently selfish. We have very selfish desires, but sometimes the desire to help others trumps that selfishness.
Pun intended.
That no pun intended at all.
Okay. Okay.
I've always used that word.
Okay. Before Trump. Okay.
Yeah. Before I found out it was a name, that was always just a word. to
Yeah,
me.
I knew that word because of the Trump cards when I was a kid. The Trump cards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah, pero kana like even all that it can seem so insignificant. So that's always been like this is why even a lot of online personalities who have no religion that I know of, like they are self-proclaimed atheists and all that. This is why they personally don't have a lot of problems with religion, because they understand that for a lot of people it's a comforting thing. It gives people a higher purpose, and a lot of people really need that to get going, to get through life.
Yeah.
And get through the harshness of life.
So kanang perennial peace ba? Kanang perennial relative peace in our world. That cannot exist, right? Because we have nothing to fight for anymore. Right?
Wait.
Kung mangita man taog, we always want a veil of reason to fight for something. Call it family, call it politics, call it religion. Mangita gitag purpose, diba? To fight. So kung pananglitan, we live in an AI utopia na ba? Wa na tay trabaho tanan, may na peaceful na tanan, ang run sa kalibutan kay si Koana si Siri na. Or si Sira na, whatever the male version of Siri is. Paghuman kaning walang ta kaning natay pagkaon tanan unya kaning maharuhay atong kinabuhi, walay problema, walay conflict. Mangita sa tag-away siguro kay. Mangita siguro kag-away si Ralph, oy. Ha?
Basin.
So kanang idea ba of constant peace ba? That's why it cannot exist, right? Because we really need to fight for something, right? So akong theory is nga kanang kung walay conflict sa kalibutan, mag-invent siguro tag conflict in the same way that Michael Jordan invents a
He still fell into sin, something like that.
So boring sa kay bay kung wala conflict. Di ba?
Siguro.
I'm it sounds funny and stupid, but it's a serious question. Boring siguro kay kalibutan ba sa kung wala conflict. Ikaw ba kung wa kay katulad katong AI utopia akong gi-describe nimo ba nga we all have universal basic income, everybody is fed, everybody has healthcare and everything's so happy and all of that stuff. Nagit siguro taong mabuang na basta maybe cannot live with the monotony siguro of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Na
The
siguro,
predictability of life.
Yeah. There's probably going to be one or two or who knows, several hundred people who are going to go crazy in that kind of environment.
Murag ang ato ko ng utok ba is wired for novelty magugunugod. Murag ganahan ta og novelty ba. I think that's probably part of that also nga murag pag di ba kabantay ka kung naay bag-o nga butang manotice din nato una, di ba? Murag like ngano man siyang lahi man to. Kinsa man ning bayhana nganong naam ni diri? Puti man ni siya ang uban kaning brown man ni. You know what I mean? So ang attention goes to that person, di ba?
Yeah,
Kay puti siya, dili siya naandan nga nakitaan ba. So
yeah, lagi.
I think we're wired for novelty. We really want murag explorers kita baganahan kita mo tanaw bag-o, nindot, kanang lahi.
Yeah.
Magpalahi kay kung okay ra siguro ng, di ba, daghan man kay moingon nga magpabukid sa ako. Magpabukid sa ako para nagkipuy-an akong syudad kay kapoy kaayo, rat race and all of that stuff. Pero
Mhm.
you stay there 3 months, 6 months, mabuang sir kasi kag hinampiling tanaw sa bayabas, oy. Di ba? Makig-away sir kag bayabas. Oy, moto siya bay.
Aha.
Moto siya nga kig-away kag bayabas kay boring na kay sa probinsya.
Nangita na lang sila
Oo,
away.
tinadtaray tungod sa bayabas.
Sa muka.
That can happen, right? Nga imuhang problema, wala jud kay problema.
Mhm.
So imong problema bayabas na lang.
Oh, mangita na kag kan bisag gagmay nga butang or something
So
like that. Yeah.
is that related to the fall of man nga mangita gyud tag conflict maski you have the opportunity to
Live in
not have
peace.
live in peace, or is this something else?
It could be related. It could be related. Just because this is the view. This is supposedly the very first thing that we did.
Yeah.
And it was literally looking for conflict when there was none.
So mangita gyud gubot bay. So we should look at conflicts like that, the one that's happening in the Middle East and Europe, as normal. That we are this. This is who we are as humans. We want conflict. We thrive on conflict. Without it, there's nothing to fight for. In fact, one of the things that I love saying is, don't complain about fighting. Be thankful that you have something worth fighting for.
Mm.
What do you think of that?
I like that. I like that.
Don't complain about it, because you should be thankful you have something to fight for. Imagine a world
With
where there's nothing to fight for, right?
Lagi.
So ninduting ideas of kaning nations, 'di ba? Nationalism,
Yeah.
'di ba? Kaning
Peace.
religion, 'di ba? Kay you have something to fight for.
Mhm.
Kung wala ning concept of a nation which is invented lang pero wala di siya giimbento, basig wala na, gamay na lang kay taos kalibutan siguro kay
Mm.
mo surrender na sila,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. And maybe this whole idea of like, global unity, maybe that's really just a pipe dream. No,
Yeah, maybe.
it doesn't feel.
Maybe that's why it
achievable.
has never happened, right?
Yeah, that's why it's never happened, because it's really just not achievable.
Mm.
And I think the nation state is probably, maintaining the nation state, the sovereignty of the nation state, and all that might be the highest form of social unity there is.
Mm.
Because when it comes to country nga relationships, it's always very shaky.
Mm. But we associate manggod the 8 billion life forms as humans, humanity, di ba? So one of the many ideologies that we talked about includes murag protecting each other and our connection with each other as brothers and sisters. With that narrative, with that operating system, kung naay 30,000 ka mga protesters nga annihilate sa usa ka gobyerno, we have an association with them because they're also humans. Diba? So muratag because that is part of the reason for going into this conflict, right? Katong mga protesters sa Iran, diba? So murag that's really part of our operating system also ba nga we're all humans. That's also a narrative, diba?
Yeah.
So kung naay manghitabo sa usa ka tao sa usa ka lugar nga lahi ilang pagtuo pero gipatay ang usa ka tao nga pareha nako tao, then that's a great injustice. Then we will have to go to the international court or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So that narrative of our oneness as human that's what you're saying is a pipe dream. We're not one.
Yeah, we're not. And we probably never will be. Not in the foreseeable future, at the very least. Not in my opinion. Okay, it feels like there's outside of like kanang our this primalistic desire for some form of conflict. I feel like the pre-existing conflicts that happened between nations and between people, it's already enough to sour relations with one another. You can see it time and time again being brought up, the atrocities that were committed in previous conflicts. It's a sore spot for a lot of people. It's why the Chinese are still very mad at the Japanese. It's why also the the Chinese are mad at the Koreans, and the Japanese are mad at the Koreans.
So
And
we're
yeah,
all mad at each other, right?
Yeah.
Natay
To a
mga
certain extent.
sa Binisaya pa natin mga issues, di ba?
Oh, natay mga issues.
Nakita mga issues sa usa, di ba?
Oh, yeah, and yeah, murag, and it's like because of that, it's hard to picture out anything happening in the immediate future where murag magkiusa tatanan gani. So it's really hard for me to picture that out.
Sa maning gisulti ni Boss Jergs, boss totoo ba yung relationship? Unsa pasabot na?
I'm not dili ko sure. Unsa ang relationship niya
Ang
pasabot?
relationship namo ni Ralph?
Oh.
We cannot tell you.
Secret.
Another narrative by, of course, like I mentioned earlier ganina, katong freedom-loving world, kanang democracies versus
Yeah.
socialism
Uh-huh.
versus
Authoritarianism.
authoritarianism, di ba? So kung panalitan ng bayad, let's just imagine, pasagdan to nato sila. Wala ta nang hilabot sa ilahang mga gipangbuhat sa ilahang mga tao, di ba? So we just let them be.
Yeah.
Unsa may tabo? Ang narrative ani ang akong mabasa or madunggan is this: kung imo nang ipadayon, kung imo nang i-allow, posible nga mahitabo pud na sa ubang lugar ani mo katay na maabot nimo murag disease ba? Murag virus ba nga?
Yeah.
Kung imo nang i-allow, then mahitabo na sa imuha slowly but surely.
Yeah.
What do you think of that narrative? Is that true?
Yeah, the whole, fight to stop the spread of
Something an
Marx
ideology, di ba?
Yeah. To stop the spread of certain ideologies from reaching the West and all that. Yeah, I think there's a, what do you call this? A valid concern about that, just because I view those I view a lot of these the governments that spawned up with these ideologies as primarily kind of authoritarian, and when it comes to human rights abuses, I think they're up there. But it can be so funny sometimes to see people within countries like America who downplay these types of atrocities when it comes to those countries, but then they always try to hyperfixate on the ones that are being committed by America. Both of them are committing these atrocities, but they're downplaying the one that's happening in these socialist governments because they want socialism to be seen as a good thing. So I can understand the concern behind it, and the potential spread of it, because people are trying to spread it. They're trying to say that this is a good thing actually, so we need this. So there's an understandable concern behind it. I just don't know if I'm in favor of literally bombing another country just to take out their leadership and replace their leadership, because that almost always ends up
kanang conflict sa
poorly.
Ukraine ug Russia, di ba? That's a perfect example of, di ba, kaning Ukraine is I think one of the lone democracies in that region, di ba? Most of the countries there are kaning murag socialist or allied with Russian ideology, right? So kung i-allow kuno nga taken over sa Russia ang Ukraine, Lord knows what's going to happen next, because he's going to continue conquering other nations for the empire, or for his ideology, right? So mo na fear, di ba?
Yeah.
So are those fears real? Do ideologies work like that? Kung an ideology defeats another ideology, does that mean nga basic ang silingan na po datong mokatay ba? Murag virus ba? Is that true for ideologies? I know I already asked the question, but I want to ask it again in the context of Ukraine and Russia ba. Tinuod ni siya nga kung ma-conquer nila ang Ukraine, kung makadaog ang Russia over Ukraine, may lahan ang Ukraine, peligro kayong uban ng mga nasod sa Europe.
I think that one is not necessarily a spread of the ideology in it of itself. I think the ideology that drives Putin is the ideology of wanting to resurrect the USSR.
USSR,
basically, and it's not about that ideology spreading. I think it's about the very obvious drive behind it and the scope of it. Of course, it's not just going to be Ukraine. If he does capture Ukraine, he's probably going to look to recapture all the other former states of the USSR that in order to rebuild it, and that's the fear. And I think it's reasonable. I also can believe it to be true.
Kanang ato ang problema sa China, di ba? Kanang ato ang kaning mga islands nga giawayan
West
nato, di
Philippine
ba?
Sea.
West Philippine Seas, di ba?
Mhm.
Ato man nang gisportaan gyud because kuyawan ta nga kung ilahan ang ma-take over, basig sunod wa ta kabaw sa may tabo, di ba?
Sunod Luzon na pod.
Oo, di ba? So mo na siyang
Mm.
mo na ang mentality, di ba? Kada sang
Yeah.
Taiwan, di ba nga,
Yeah.
nga like di ba si ang presidente sa China, murag na may pronouncements nga 2027, murag
Yeah.
something's gonna happen or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
something like that.
he wants to perhaps invade
Mhm.
Taiwan and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. So we don't want that to happen. The freedom loving world does not want that to happen because if we allow that, that will give them a go signal to conquer other
Yeah,
places
exactly.
also, di ba?
Yeah, exactly. It will basically tell them nga the global community is fine with it happening, and that's really all they're looking for, because they don't want to be the ones who start WW3. They don't want to be that. But that's exactly why what they're doing is incremental. They're taking up one island after the other, and then they backed off of this island, pwede na.
So
na sila dire pero nihawa sila, okay, pwede na.
So because of an ideology, because of a belief of something to be so true, ang usa ka nasod mo invade sa usa ka nasod, ngano di mas na malipay na lang bay? Ha? Ngano di mas lang hinampiling dito niyang tanos bayabas? Nganong di mo gyud ta malipay bay? Nganong ganahan mo gyud tag-away? Nganong China nganong di mas sila malipay? Nganong ang Russia di mas sila malipay? Nganing Amerika, Israel,
Di sila malipay.
di mo sila malipay nila nga. Sagdi lang na sila, labot na to. Nganong dili man na to, pasagdan na lang. So why don't we just let things be?
Well,
Because of resources, siguro, gid ba? It's really because of resources.
That's probably one big factor behind it, but besides that,
Lamig yung bayabas, siguro sa?
I really wish I knew the answer to this, because this is something that philosophers have been going at for years. No, they're trying to find the root jud behind all of this, and I think I could safely say that I don't know the answer to it yet.
Well, I think that's the fun part, right? I think that's the best part about it.
That we don't know.
That we don't know, right? But the fact is that we know there's something to be known, but that we don't know yet, I guess gives us meaning, gives us purpose, right? That there's something that we don't know. Isn't that amazing? Right? But that sometimes paralyzes a lot of people too, diba? Not knowing, but they really need we need an explanation for this, right?
Yeah.
And why can't we just accept the fact now?
We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know, right? Ngano marabi, why is that a difficult concept? Why is it a difficult concept for you just to say, I don't know? I don't know.
I think it's because
Wa ko kabaw.
people are just scared of the unknown in general. People don't want to be unaware of what comes next, and that's why life can be so overwhelming sometimes, because we really don't know what's going to happen next. But if we can accept the fact that life can be unpredictable, or maybe it's because of how unpredictable life is that we don't want everything else to be as unpredictable. So we just want to constantly be right. We want to constantly have this delusion, as the Buddhists would put it. We know exactly what's going to happen next, or something like that.
There is an idea that has been living in my head for a long time, rent free. It is the idea that the universe, the world's natural state is really chaos. Kaning kagubot mo gid ni ang natural state sa kalibutan. Kita, we try to imbue and give it a kind of order. Mo na ang atong pananaw sa kalibutan gubot, pero it's supposed to be chaos. If you look at the way planets are formed, these are by big explosions, diba? And like the continental shifts and all of that stuff of the mass of Earth, right? It went through a lot of violent changes, right? So morang it is supposed to be like this. This is what we are living in chaos, and we cannot expect it to be peaceful all the time. There is going to be chaos. So what we're trying to do as human beings, we're trying to tame the universe, tame the world, right?
Yeah.
Bend it to our will, diba? We want the world to be a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So atong ibutangan og taytayan, ibutangan nato og mga siminto. You know, we're taming nature. We're taming the world so that we can control it. And atong gipuga ang kalibutan for its resources, right? Ang mga oil sa ato ang yuta atong gi-extract, di ba? So because this is us wanting to provide for more and more people, you know, more and more machines, di ba? For
Yeah.
our convenience, di ba? For our cars to run, for you know, trade to happen. We need to fuel our trucks and so on and so forth, right? So it's really just us imposing our will on the world, and the world doesn't care. So it's just gonna give you chaos. And so every now and then makalusot ng chaos nga atong hisgutan in the form of war, in the form of conflicts. So that's why it's important to add a layer of Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, whatnot, so that we will not go mad. Who said that? Was that some Chinese called the opium of the masses? Was
No,
that
I think there was I think that might have been like a Russian,
Russian?
one of the Russian
Was it Nietzsche?
socialists.
Was it Nietzsche?
I
Anyway,
think it might have been Stalin actually.
Okay.
So
what-
religion
what-
is the opium of the masses.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a point of view. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's supposed to be chaotic. That's why mangita gitag conflict, mangita gitag away, mangita gitag kuan kaning panin Luka Doncic mangaway gid og referee, bahala na si Michael Jordan mangiminto man nag-conflict, di ba?
Yeah.
You've read his biography, right? Nga maghimo-himo na siya kaning manghimo siya imaginary enemy, di ba?
Yeah, lagi.
And
See, Kevin Garnett would.
yeah, so that works for them, right? So
Yeah.
that gives them success. Then
Yeah.
why not?
It's something like it drives them, diba?
Yeah,
It drives them to do more. It drives them to do better.
yeah.
It's a very weird way about going about your life, no?
Yeah.
Looking for conflict, pero some people really thrive
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
It's just like that. Just a lot of people who thrive in it
Yeah.
and who need it to push them forward.
But there are societies man that I perceive to be peaceful, ba? Kana bitaw mga Nordic countries bitaw.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I've never lived in you know, in Sweden, in Denmark, and all of these supposedly happier countries, diba? Number one siguro ng Denmark, diba? Or Sweden, or one of those countries, right? They're probably relatively more peaceful people, right?
Chillax.
Chillax, yeah.
Chillax people. Who knows? I haven't really met a lot of Swedes in my life, so I can't really say that for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm saying ba is murag there's it seems to me, but I actually nakalimot ka ay. We interviewed somebody from the Nordic region in one of the events in Marco Polo. Remember that guy? We had an interview. Remember he was from Denmark.
Oh,
He was from Denmark. We were even asking him, yeah, you know, it's not what you think it is, something like that. Remember that in Marco Polo ba? Ano in Seda. Sorry, Seda in Seda. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That event, that event that we covered, right?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
was from Denmark?
He was from Denmark or one of those.
I forgot.
He was
Yeah,
Dutch.
yeah.
What's Dutch? Denmark, right? Or the
Dutch.
Netherlands. The Netherlands.
Yeah, I think that might be Netherlands.
Yeah.
no?
So the Netherlands. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so you've met somebody who's from the Nordic region.
Well, not a lot of people. I met one guy. One guy. That's just one guy.
But
You can't base.
but he was very you know, he was very truthful about it, and
Yeah.
he seemed like a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Who answered the question correctly. So anyway, the point is nga, it seems to me a group of people has found a kind of solution, right, to the human condition, to the human problem.
It seems like there has been.
Seems like.
Ah,
Gubot man na di ba? Gubot na ba na murag naam gyapon na sila yung mga kuansa mga kaning mga shootings and all of that stuff. I remember New Zealand had like a shootings a few years ago.
Yeah, I think there also was one
Ngita.
in the Netherlands, but or
Mm.
something.
So nagyap
Yeah,
digin mo.
it was a while back
Na-
that con the katong tong na sila somewhere retreat somewhere in the mountains, and there was like two guys with
Mm. So
with guns.
na board siguro sila, di ba? Nangita away.
Wala mo yung mga kan mansanas dito sa ila. So
But I don't wanna sound blasphemous and all of that stuff, right? But ang original problema ginato is boredom, gid ba?
boredom.
Because God, with His power and might, He was all alone and bored out of His mind, so He created us.
Mm.
So na-bored man siya. So wangita siya, himo siya og problema. Mo na nga akong theological kaning thought ba nga ba ang atong original sin gid siguro ang original problem to boredom kay ma-bored man ta mangita man gid away si Luka Doncic dili man ma-MVP kung walay kaaway si Michael Jordan dili man mag-GOAT kung walay kaaway mangita mag-imbinto siya gaaway. So the original problem is really boredom. So if you can deal with your boredom, maybe, just maybe, we'll have less conflict, less war.
Mm. I think the more religiously accurate one would be that Adam and Eve were bored of the constant peace in
Yeah, but
Eden.
why make Adam and Eve? Why make boredom sensitive things or life forms?
Why make these things?
Oh, that are going to get bored, right? If you knew, why didn't you just not give them the boredom gene? right. Anyway, dili ni mahuman ba because like all religious debates go, they never end because we don't know. And I think the bottom line here is let's just wrap it up, guys. Unless we have some questions, kung naamoy mga pangutana, naamoy mga comments and suggestions and whatnot. I think at the end of the day, it's really about purpose and meaning and whatever drives you, whatever allows you to continue on this thing called life. I think I may have to say go with it. But I think the problem begins, and this is what you should be aware of and to avoid. Kung makatamak na kag laing tao, kung makasakit na kag laing tao, diba? If you're gonna hurt other people, if you're gonna step on other people's toes, then that's where you should stop, right?
Probably.
Diyan lang ako to. Ayan, okay ra gyud na imong gipangbuhat pero ayaw lang yun pang sakit. Ayaw lang yun pang harm of other tao, di ba? And how you do that? Because I think it's almost impossible by not to hurt other people, especially if you have strong points of view, if you feel strongly about something.
Yeah.
Naamgi kay tendency nga kaning basta naagi kay tendency nga ang imuhang labi na kanang mga strong personalities. Naamgi iba kanang mga strong og personalities kanang mga stricto, kanang mga isog. Na may ganahan nila pero napoy maglagot nila, di ba?
Yeah.
Dili mo ginamahimo nga tanan ganahan nila. So
that's true.
You're just gonna have to live with that.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Yeah. And speaking of questions sa tong comment section, na si Boss Jerg, sumutana siya, ang forever boss totoo din ba?
Ang forever totoo ba din?
Forever.
That's a good that's actually a very good question.
Yeah.
And
Is there forever?
Kanang forever is just a word that we created for something that we don't know. So kanang word nga forever actually falls in the column of things that we don't know, right?
Yeah.
We don't know if forever is real. But I remember one of my favorite quotes from Alice in Wonderland is when the rabbit was asked how long. Oh, when the rabbit asked Alice, "How long is forever?" And then the rabbit answered, "Sometimes forever can be 1 second." So kanang forever, naro na nimo kung unsa nimo ang imuhang i-attach nga meaning ana. Forever can be just 1 second.
Okay.
Or it could be a long time, but we don't know.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it now.
Yeah.
Forever can be a second.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. It's Alice in Wonderland.
You should read back your Alice in Wonderland and your other tales.
Yeah.
And fairy tales and stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's so many messages, but that you missed.
Oh
as a
yeah,
child.
especially Alice in Wonderland. Diba? It's been remade and remade over and over again, right?
Yeah, it has. It has
Yeah,
been.
yeah. So it's precisely because of that. So yeah, if you guys have some questions, especially to Ralph here, kani si Ralph, grabe kani ka-interesting nga tao, hilom-hilom lang ni siya, pero grabe kani ka-complicated nga tao. Grabe kani siya mga thoughts po sa iyang utok.
Yeah.
By the way, we have an announcement to make. We actually have a brand new, how do you call this? Page. What's the name of the official page of the radio station again, Ralph? Kaya ato ang katong TMC nga
TMC 105.1
extra.
Yeah, we're gonna be rebranding it to TMC Extra.
Extra. That's going to be like the funny side of TMC, di ba?
Yeah, ato mga funny nga content.
Oh, nya kani ato ang mga radio station stuff will be in one kaning Facebook page account, which is
TMC 105.1 FM.
FM. Eventually, of course, we're gonna have an actual radio station that broadcasts terrestrial signal very soon. After the Holy Week, after ilangsang si Ralph sa Cruz,
dito actually
sa
dito
transmitter.
Transmitter ko
ilangsang ka dito, kaning hopefully we'll have a signal by the month of April, so you guys can also hear us not just on the website and social media. So you guys be aware of that, and please like and follow it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Head over to TMC 105.1 FM and give us a follow, and be on the lookout for more content to be posted on that page moving forward. And of course, guys, once malansang na ko dito sa atong transmitter, we will be able to broadcast to a wide range, di ba, Jigs?
Yeah. Kasi nahilayin punta na si Boss Jergs. Boss, matanong lang, pwede ba pakasalan ang bakla ko, no?
Currently in the Philippines, under the current state of our laws, Hindi.
Pakasalan meaning to say like
marriage
in the Christian sense, right? Right? Or not even in the legal sense, dili pod pwede, di ba?
No, even in the legal sense, dili siya pwede, wala.
So pwede na siya mo mag-business partner sa lang babay. Di ba? Imbes magbinyo mo sa simbahan, which is not allowed, dili sad allowed ka magpakasal sa kaning sa korte or sa legal format, mag-business partner sa lang mo, di ba?
Pwede.
Paghimo na lang mo Boss and Jergs partnership.
Bitaw.
Diba?
Kinsa man ang partner ni mo, Boss Jergs.
Bitaw, kinsa man imong partner. And I think that might work, di ba?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to be 50-50 on your
So that's what's going to happen anyway, right?
Yeah,
when it comes to kaning legally married,
yeah, exactly.
50-50 mo, so pareha na siya. So pag himo lang mo negosyo, pag himo mo sari-sari store, i-register ninyo, i-register it both your names, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
kung naay mo palit og usa ka kakindi, tungaon yung halin. Di ba? Ana man na, di ba?
Tungaon ninyong candy.
Ay lang sa tunga candy. Why mo palit og tunga sa candy, oy? So you guys have a happy Holy Week, and I hope you observe it, and so on and so forth. This is really at the time for most people in Cebu and in the Philippines, I think, Ralph, to relax and enjoy and recharge ba. Kay labi na karon, Ralph, daghan kayong problema ang kalibutan, di ba?
Yeah.
We really need to recharge to keep our sanity. Ikaw, Ralph, kaning you don't feel that need to recharge.
I do.
I you totally deserve it, right? But how do you recharge? How does Ralph and family recharge, especially during long holidays like Holy Week?
Well, for me, like for the family, like as a whole, if we can, we go out and we eat out. Kanang lag lang good.
Diri ra sa Cebu.
Oh, diri ra within Cebu. Dili pa lang layo pod kayo.
That-
Within Cebu lang.
But does that recharge you?
In a way, yeah. It's just like a way for us to catch up with each other po. Okay, sometimes we're so busy, dili po ta storya sa tanan nga nahitabo sa atong personal lives, and then how we're going about our problems and all that. Siguro maybe that's another thing we can discuss sa kaning mga catch-ups namo. Outside of that, if walay time ang family to get together, kay I'll just go out by myself and recharge by
Mangitag away. Di ka mangitag-away, ha? Ay, pangitag-away, ha?
Virtually. Mangita kog away virtually. Sa kaning gitawag na to nga mga video games. Na ako'y ako nga mga
Nasa kay mga kaaway. Nasa kay mga kaaway.
Na ako yung mga kaaway
Kinsa may mga kaaway mo sa social media, ay?
Dili sa social
Kaning
media, sa video games.
Mga gamings ba? Gaming platform ba? Kinsa may mga kaaway?
Ambot kinsa may mga kaaway nako, ako kay nila. O siguro ng part nga, o siguro ng reason ba nga murag init jud kay mga conversation sa kanang mga video game kay wa man jud ka kailangan ng ataw.
Because di ba, the algorithm rewards conflict, di ba? Rewards controversy, rewards
Not
ba?
not in video games. Not in video games. You don't get that kind of reward in video games. Ideally, sa video games like especially with kanang team based nga video games kay naa mo unity gamay. Pero ang mahitabo dira kay murag garboso tanang tao.
Mangitag away.
Mangita og away sa mga kauban pa jud ninyo, dili sa mga kalaban ninyo. It's
So
like, it can be
kanang
so pretty
conflict
weird.
is really just a normal state of being a human being, and you have to. We'll
so
all have to
true.
accept that, and we'll just have to find a way to deal with it, and
Lagi.
not get overrun by it, because natural lagi na siya. Natural lagi na siya.
Yeah.
And I hope just like all conflicts, the conflict in the Middle East eventually murag nipadong naman ni og kuan ba, nipadong naman ni og kaning kahuman siguro. I think
Yeah.
there are many pronouncements by both kaning the president of the United States and the leader of Iran nga medyo padong na ni og wind down. Unsa man ang kang Noah Goods ba?
Well, natay comment from Noah Good sa atong comment section niya. Iningon siya nga, hello mga sirs. For me, Maslow's hierarchy of needs rajud ang maka-explain nato ana boss kung ngano ang tao mangita jud og conflict considering naa na niya tanan in a utopian society. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So itong kan?
Kanang kuan basta kay self-actualization ng ending.
Yeah.
Nanay
Kato.
purpose ba, di ba?
Yeah.
So nana kay kaning murag kaning imong hunger, kanang kagutom nimo nya shelter and all of that stuff, and then you're looking for purpose na in the end. So
Yeah.
I think it ends with self-actualization.
Yeah. I think I remember that. So in a way, no, like it kind of ties back as well to what I was saying a bit to what I was saying earlier. Nga, it's really just about that higher purpose. We're looking for that higher purpose, something to drive us forward. Ba? And I think that's going to be part of your self-actualization, right?
Yeah.
This desire for a higher purpose.
Yeah. Speaking of higher purpose, nagduwa mo ang Cavs ron ug ang Lakers, di ba? Labaw kayo ang Lakers 70-55. Di ba mga tana ka ni LeBron, he always says he's been playing in the NBA for how many years now? 23 years? Going 24 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I love the game, man. I just love the game. Like, so ang higher purpose kay love, gugma. Gugma, right?
Loving the game.
So I think kaning love is actually a very strong driver, di ba?
Yeah.
Love, of course, it can be used in
a variety
bad
of ways.
and good ways, di ba?
Yeah.
But
of course.
love of the game, how do you top that, man? Right?
Yeah. I can definitely see where you're going there. Niana po si Noah Good. Interesting kayo yung topic, mga sirs. Keep it up. You just gained a new listener.
Well, thank you, Noah. How's your arc, Noah?
Well, Noah as well. I don't know what time you tuned in, but we were mentioning it earlier. We are setting up a new page for our radio shows and our radio related content. It's going to be over at TMC 105.1 FM. And this main page is going to be rebranded to TMC Extras. This is going to be our comedy related content and
memes and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Real siguro.
Grabe kay kakataonan ang mga memes ba? Grabe kay kataonan. Murag fall off your seat kind of memes gid ba si Ralph ni Kuya Magic, mga ilahang mga kuan mga that's from the mind of Kuya Magic and Ralph Chavez. Kanilang mga memes. It's getting a lot of traction. So thank you guys for all the attention and all of the follows, and I hope you do the same for our new page, which is
TMC 105.1 FM.
Yes, and once again, I hope you guys are good this long holiday. I hope you don't do the human thing and mangitag away na sad. I hope this is the time for you to perhaps recalibrate and look back at your life and maybe find peace.
Yeah.
You guys have peace.
All right. Oh. Asa naman itong extra na to. Nahinay man kaya.